This investigation begins with a mistake, an editorial decision pushed by desperation. Our channel had plateaued. Views were slowing. Sponsors were pulling back. And then an anonymous email arrived in our inbox at 3:11 a.m., with no subject line and only 2 sentences. If you want a real story, come to Bellmare. The wind died here in 1984. Attached was a single photo, a small town buried between distant hills, frozen in a strange, oppressive stillness. Trees stood perfectly still, leaves stiff as cardboard. Flags hung straight down as if carved from stone. A bird hovered mid-flight in the frame, not flapping, not falling, as though suspended by invisible hands. Bellmare. Better known in local folklore as the city without wind. It took only one meeting for the team to agree. We weren't chasing clout. We weren't making clickbait. We were chasing the truth. And the truth was waiting. The drive into silence. Day 1 begins with our arrival at the Valley Road. The wind, which had been mild all morning, suddenly disappeared the moment we passed the wooden sign reading, "Welcome to Bellmare, population?" Someone had scratched out the number with deep, desperate marks. The air felt wrong the moment we crossed the threshold. Not heavy, not hot, just absent. The atmosphere lacked the micro-movements every human subconsciously expects. No rustling leaves. No shifting dust. No pressure change. No subtle breeze grazing the skin. It felt like stepping into a vacuum designed to simulate air, instead of containing it. Our audio engineer, Michaela, noted it immediately. "Guys, my microphones aren't picking up natural ambience. There's no room tone. There's nothing. Environmental silence that absolute does not happen in nature. Not for seconds. Definitely not for decades." 2 miles in, we found the first abandoned vehicle, a rusted truck with the driver's door forced open from the inside. Ashes dusted the seat in the exact shape of a human body. Inside, scratched into the windshield. It watches for movement. We didn't know what that meant yet. We would. The residents who never left. Despite the town's reputation for being abandoned, Bellmare was not empty. We found signs of life, dim lights inside homes, distant silhouettes behind curtains, shadows moving where there should be none. But every time we knocked, no one answered. Not a single door opened. On the 3rd attempt, at a faded blue house with a crooked porch, a voice whispered from the mail slot, "You shouldn't breathe here," followed by rapid footsteps retreating into darkness. The team exchanged uneasy glances. Something was deeply, structurally wrong with these people. The first interview, lost footage transcript. At dusk, we met our first willing interviewee. Elias Corver, the last known municipal worker still living in Bellmare. The man looked compressed, like a life wrung out slowly by something unseen. His hair was brittle. His clothes sun-bleached. His eyes, wide, unblinking, constantly darted to the side as though tracking something invisible. We wired him with a lapel mic. He flinched at the smallest touch. Below is the recovered transcript. Audio was heavily corrupted. Interviewer: "Is it true the wind stopped in 1984? Elias: "No, not stopped. Taken." "There's a difference." Interviewer: "Taken by what?" 7 seconds of static. Elias: "It lives in the center. The still point. When the wind touched it, it died. Everything that moves is eventually noticed." Interviewer: "Have people tried to leave?" Elias: "They do leave. But they don't leave alone. The silence follows them home." Interviewer: "Why are you still here?" Heavy breathing. Microphone distortion. Elias: "Leaving means it turns to look at you." Shuffling. He grabs the interviewer's arm. Elias: "And once it looks, you freeze where you stand. Inside. Forever." At minute 13 of the interview, Elias abruptly stopped talking mid-sentence. His body stiffened, eyes frozen wide open. We shook him. Shouted. Tried to get a blink, a flinch, anything. His lungs weren't moving. His pulse vanished. Yet he remained upright. Alive, but locked. As though the wind wasn't the only thing missing movement. The still point. We discovered it by accident. Michaela noticed that her compass needle rotated slowly until pointing toward the town center. Not north, just center. It was as if the compass recognized a new magnetic pole birthed by something unnatural. We followed. At the center of town lay a dry fountain surrounded by dead trees, each frozen mid-sway, curved unnaturally as though a breeze had hit them once and never moved again. In the center of the fountain was a perfectly smooth, glass-like sphere, jet black, radiating a subtle vibration that our cameras picked up but our bodies did not feel. Michaela reached out. We yelled for her to stop. She didn't hear. Or couldn't. Her finger came within an inch of the sphere, and the world around us dimmed. Colors washed out. Sound collapsed into pure, suffocating silence. And then behind us, a voice whispered, "You moved." Everything went black, and the cameras kept recording. When our vision returned, we were no longer in the town square. We were inside a small, windowless room. The only source of light came from the cameras themselves, scattered across the floor, their screens flickering with endless loops of footage. The four of us walking, breathing, blinking, every small movement replayed over and over as though catalogued. That's when we heard it. A faint exhale. Not from us. From every direction. But the air never moved. The room of stillness. The walls were covered in carvings. Hundreds, maybe thousands of them. Each message scratched deep into the concrete by frantic hands. Most repeated the same phrase. Don't move. Don't breathe. Don't let it notice you. Underneath those, dates, names, coordinates, missing persons reports from the last 4 decades. All ending in Bellmare. One inscription stood out, deeper and larger than the rest. The wind didn't stop. It escaped. Before we could process it, the sound returned. Not footsteps. Not breathing. A slow, dragging scrape. Like something enormous shifting its weight. The entity. The cameras trembled. Dust drifted upward, not downward, as though gravity was momentarily reversing. Then, movement in the corner. At first it looked like a person. A woman, long-limbed, emaciated, trembling. But her body was locked in a backward arch, frozen in a position no living human could sustain. Her hair hung upward, stiff as metal wires. Her skin reflected light like polished stone. And her eyes, lifeless, wide, forever staring at something behind us. We understood. She was a victim of Bellmare's silence. Or maybe part of it. The scrape grew louder. Then, across the room, another figure emerged from the darkness. A man, throat torn open but bloodless. His jaw hung sideways. His arms bent at impossible angles. He looked carved, placed, posed. He froze mid-step. Then another figure. And another. And another. A dozen in total, surrounding us. Not alive. Not dead. Just paused. The scrape stopped. Something was in the room with us. Something we couldn't see. Something that only knew movement. And it was waiting for one of us to flinch. The first loss. Michaela cracked first. A single tear rolled down her cheek. Just enough motion. Enough for the thing to notice. We didn't see it. We felt it. A sudden vacuum. A pressure drop. A bending of space around her body. And then, she froze. Completely. Even the tear stopped mid-fall, suspended like a crystal bead in the air. Her expression never changed. Eyes forward. Mouth slightly open. A single, silent plea stuck on her face. We tried not to scream. Screaming was too much motion. Too much vibration. The entity lingered around us. Watching. Choosing. The wind returns. After 9 minutes and 42 seconds of absolute stillness, something changed. A faint breeze brushed my cheek. A breeze. In Bellmare. The first recorded movement of air since 1984. But it wasn't natural wind. It carried whispers. Thousands of them. Voices layered over each other. Men, women, children, speaking in gasps, in terror, in agony. Some screamed. Some begged. Some whispered fragments of warnings. Don't move. Please tell them not to come. It sees through sound. Run only when it sleeps. And then, louder than the rest. The center is hungry. The wind struck Michaela's motionless body. She shattered. Not like flesh. Like glass. 1,000 fragments suspended in the air, drifting slowly downward with no wind to carry them. We broke. We ran. The escape. The entity did not chase immediately. It didn't need to. Every wrong step echoed through the silent town like thunder. Our breaths felt like explosions. Our heartbeats, like war drums. The houses watched us. Curtains parted. I stared. Not human eyes. Something behind the windows. Something mimicking the shape of human silhouettes. Something studying us. As if deciding whether we belonged here. Halfway to the car, my legs locked. Cold needles crawled up my spine. I turned, slowly, and saw it. A ripple in the air. A distortion. Like heat over asphalt, but in the shape of a towering figure. It leaned forward. Studying me. Waiting for me to breathe too deeply. Dean grabbed my arm and yanked me out of the trance. We sprinted the last 100 meters. I don't remember opening the car door. I don't remember buckling in. I don't remember driving. I only remember the moment we crossed the boundary of Bellmare. And the wind returned. Violently. Thunderous gusts slammed the car. Leaves spiraled. Trees bent. The air screamed through the valley as though finally released from captivity. Behind us, in the rearview mirror, the entire town of Bellmare stood in pure, absolute stillness. Watching. Waiting. Listening. The final recording. 1 week later we received another email. No subject line. No text. Just a 2-second audio file. When played, it sounded like someone standing perfectly still, breathing. Then a whispered voice, identical to Michaela's, spoke. You moved. The file ends. We have not returned to Bellmare. We will not return. But the silence follows us. The wind in our homes sometimes stops for several seconds. Our microphones occasionally record breaths that aren't ours. And every night, when the world gets quiet enough, we all hear the same faint scrape. Coming closer. 3 days after escaping Bellmare, we received a package. No return address. No stamps. No tracking label. Just a plain cardboard box left outside our studio door at 4:12 a.m., captured on the security camera by pure accident. The footage showed the box materializing at the edge of the frame, no one carrying it, no motion, no shadow, nothing. One frame empty, the next frame, the box. Inside were 4 black VHS tapes labeled in white ink. B01, Before Silence. B02, The Incident. B03, Containment Attempts. B04, Abandonment. A stack of mildewed documents stamped. Property of U.S. Department of Atmospheric Anomalies. An agency that does not officially exist. A note with only 3 words. Don't watch alone. Of course we watched. Tape B01, Before Silence. The tape opened with home video footage dated June 18, 1984. Families walked through Bellmare streets during a summer festival. Children flew kites. Windmills spun lazily. Flags snapped against the breeze. Looked normal. Too normal. The video jittered whenever the camera panned toward the exact center of town, the fountain where we later found the black sphere. Every time the lens drifted that direction, static chewed through the film. A woman's voice behind the camera said, "It hums louder at night." But no one else in the footage reacted. Tape B02, The Incident. This one was nearly unwatchable. It opened with a weather monitoring station. 2 technicians stood over a huge console. The wind speed monitor read, wind, 8 miles per hour. Wind, 4 miles per hour. Wind, 1 mile per hour. Wind, 0 miles per hour. Wind. Then alarms blared. The technicians panicked. One yelled, "It's pulling the pressure inward. What the hell is pulling air inward? That's not a drop, that's a suction. Turn it OFF." The tape warped. The image shattered into white streaks and a low droning hum that made our teeth ache. Then the audio returned. Screams. Crashing equipment. Bodies slamming against the walls. Wind spiraling inward like a vortex. And then, silence. Instant. Total. Deathly. The last clear frame showed the technicians frozen mid-fall. One suspended horizontally in the air, limbs stiff, face distorted in a silent scream. Tape B03, Containment Attempts. This tape was worse because it was official. The U.S. government tried to evacuate Bellmare. They failed. A convoy of trucks arrived at the town's border. As soon as the vehicles crossed the threshold, engines died. Radio signals vanished. Soldiers inside the trucks froze instantly, trapped mid-step as they tried to disembark. The ones still outside ran. Some made it. Most didn't. A memo flashed on screen. Subject classified as an anemostatic entity. Do not approach. Expansion risk unknown. Tape B04, Abandonment. The final tape documented the decision to seal Bellmare off from the world. Officials erected fences, barriers, posted guards. Then the guards began disappearing. One by one. Always without wind. Always without witnesses. The last shot was of Bellmare at night. Unmoving. Dead. Watching. The final audio clip, a whisper layered beneath static. When everything else is still, it begins to walk. We stop the tape. And then, every vent in our studio stopped blowing air. No breeze. No circulation. No movement. Just silence. The same silence we heard in Bellmare. And faintly beneath the quiet, a scrape. We weren't supposed to return. But after the tapes, after the silence in our studio, after hearing the scrape echoing through walls that shouldn't echo, we realized something horrifying. Bellmare wasn't contained. It was expanding. People in nearby counties reported strange symptoms. Sudden stillness in the air. Birds falling from the sky. Curtains freezing mid-sway. Children sleepwalking toward the valley. Dogs barking at empty corners. Houses filling with absolute silence at random intervals. As journalists, we had a responsibility. As survivors, we had guilt. So we assembled a smaller team. Just 3 of us now. And we returned. The entrance was different. The sign reading Welcome to Bellmare was gone. In its place, carved deep into a wooden plank with claw-like markings. The air belongs to it. The moment we crossed the boundary, the world dimmed again. Our breath felt thick. Our footsteps muffled. But something was different. The silence breathed. Every minute, it pulsed, like the inhale and exhale of a massive organism. On the pulse the air thickened. On the release it thinned. As if the entire town was a lung. A lung breathing inward. The house of disappeared residents. We chose a 2-story house on Willow Street to investigate first. Curtains drawn. No sound. No movement. Inside, every piece of furniture was placed facing the same direction. Toward the center of town. Toward the still point. One room stopped us cold. The living room couch had 3 indentations in the cushions, perfectly shaped like the bodies of a father, mother, and child. But there were no bodies. Just the shapes. As though the still point had inhaled their movement and left behind empty echoes. On the wall, written in shaky letters. Don't let it learn your breath. The letters looked fresh. Wet. Glossy. But no one had lived here in decades. The school. Next we entered the local elementary school. Every clock read 11:11. Every page in every book lay mid-turn. Every child's coat hung in the hallway, sleeves slightly fluttered. But not from wind. From something brushing past them. Something we couldn't see. Something moving while everything else remained still. In one classroom we found a chalkboard with a lesson still fresh. Today, what the wind can tell you us. Underlined twice. Below it, the wind is how the world speaks. And the world has been quiet for too long. The first real encounter. We entered the gymnasium. Lights flickered. Our breath fogged, even though the temperature was normal. The air vibrated with pressure. Then we saw them. Hundreds of frozen figures, lined up on the bleachers. Men, women, children, entire families. All locked in positions of terror, some mid-scream, some mid-run, some shielding their eyes. A low hum grew. Then the entire crowd of frozen bodies turned their heads toward us in unison. Not rapidly. Not abruptly. Slowly. Grindingly. Bone creaking against bone. Like a single mind puppeteering hundreds of corpses. We ran. And the silence followed. There are things in this world that are not meant to be witnessed. This was one of them. We reached the fountain again. But the black sphere was gone. In its place was something alive. A vertical distortion in the air, like a slit in reality vibrating softly. Colors bent around it. Dust hovered near it. Sound warped. Our cameras flickered with geometric interference. The slit pulsed, like a heartbeat. For the first time since 1984. Something in Bellmare moved on its own. A breeze. Not natural. Not free. A controlled exhale. The slit widened. And from within came a sound that did not belong to any world we know. 1,000 voices exhaling in unison. Whispers layered over whispers. Each voice speaking a fragment of speech. Found you. Don't breathe. We see movement. Join the stillness. Don't let it hear. The ground trembled. A pressure wave slammed into us. And then we saw them. The figures from the gymnasium. All of them. Hundreds. Marching toward us with unnatural synchronicity, bodies jerking like marionettes suspended in invisible strings. Their mouths hung open. Their eyes tracked us. Their steps made no sound. Not a single one blinked. We backed away. The slit opened further. And something began to crawl out. Not human. Not animal. Not describable. A shape that betrayed the idea of shape. A geometry that hurt the mind. A presence that tasted like metal and dust. Our cameraman vomited immediately. Our audio recorder screamed and ran. I couldn't move. The thing leaned toward me. This block consists of the recovered radio logs from our second escape attempt. Our radios recorded everything even when our cameras failed. Below is the full, unedited transcript. 001, static. Dean, it's following run, don't look behind you. 007, heavy breathing. Me, it's bending the air, my ears are popping. 010, distortion. A voice overlapping our own. Running makes noise. 013, a scream. Quick, cut off abruptly. 015, metallic hum. Dean, it took the recorder, it's copying our Static corruption. 022. Me, lights are bending, Dean? Dean? Answer me. 030, deep drone. A chorus of voices whispering. You moved. 037. Footsteps. Mine. Echoing wrong, too sharp, too loud. 046. Me, I see the exit, don't freeze, don't freeze. 050, silence. Every sound cuts. Even breathing. 055. A voice behind me, identical to Michaela's. Let it look at you. 102, air pressure shift. Wind returns. Violently. Something screams, not human. 108. Me, I'm out, Dean, where are? Cuts abruptly. The radio stopped transmitting at 109. Dean was never found. But 3 days later, our studio received a new transmission from an unknown location. Whisper. Dean didn't freeze. Dean learned to stop the wind. Followed by a scraping sound. Then silence. And whispered. You escaped before. You won't escape again. After our second escape, we tried to warn the world. No one listened. Until the wind began dying in other towns. Signs of expansion. Reports flooded online. Curtains hanging motionless for hours. Entire forests going silent. Cities experiencing sudden drops in wind for minutes at a time. People hearing breathing in rooms with no one inside. Mirrors fogging from invisible exhalations. Microphones recording footsteps in empty hallways. Pets refusing to enter certain neighborhoods. Children waking up whispering. It's almost here. Bellmare wasn't isolated anymore. It was spreading. The map. We brought a meteorologist to analyze atmospheric data. She didn't last long before fleeing the studio shaking violently. But she left us one thing. A map. A circle expanding outward from Bellmare, slowly but steadily, spreading with a radius that grew by approximately 1.1 kilometers per day. Once the radius touches a city, that city will become windless. Silent. Washed. Claimed. The final warning. Last night, I woke up to complete silence in my bedroom. Not quiet. Silence. My breath hung in place. My hair didn't shift. The air didn't move. And a voice whispered from the darkest corner. Stop running. The world will be still soon. Then I heard the scrape again. Closer. Under the bed. Behind the walls. Inside the vents. The wind hasn't returned in 12 hours. I know what that means. Bellmare has reached my town. And soon, it will reach yours. When it does, remember only one rule. Don't move.